So what would you say then are the challenges with acoustic in product design and in building sector? And what are your best practices then to brand leaders and architectures out there?
I think one of the challenges, like you said earlier, is the lack of emphasis on acoustics. I've spoken to architects who say we have 7 years studies to become a visual architect, and we spend about 5 days talking about acoustic, and the rest of the 6 years and 360 days are spent on visual. Okay. And that's why we called Acoustics Academy at Quiet Mark. We called it our Acoustics Academy. So Acoustics Academy is a directory which lists a variety of Quiet Mark verified products which you can use in the building sector on all different types of buildings. Okay. And like I said, it's got ceilings, it's got floors by Carndine. Now, here's the thing. You don't just have architects, you have acousticians. So Jack Richardson at Hilson Moran, Adrian Passmore at Arup, they head up, and Richard at the BDP, they head up the acoustic side of these practices. And just as I said with BDP, you know, Richard used to come to the table after Colin. Now they go together. One of the things I'm hearing from people like Jack Richardson at Hilson Moran, who work on some of the most famous buildings like the Walkie-Talkie building, the Gherkin, the Shard, I think they did, well, certainly Baswell worked on the Shard. These companies are working on major buildings, but an acoustics academy is needed because an academy educates, and we are trying to up the agenda of the importance of acoustics in the architectural practices. And just as you have acoustic departments, someone like Jack or someone like Adrian at Arup, they have the technology. They understand which products will make their buildings work the best. It's almost like a patchwork quilt. You need this type of ceiling, this type of flooring, these kind of walls. And when you do that, you know, one of our certified brands is Ecophon, okay, Saint-Gobain Ecophon, and they treat schools. When they treat schools, absenteeism reduces, grades increase, and one school they worked at when it became an Ofsted rating outstanding school post acoustic treatment, because what was happening with the acoustic treatment, the children in the class could hear the teacher better, they could absorb the information better, and they could do better things. If you improve meeting rooms in offices, if you improve the acoustics, work improves. Okay, so it's the Acoustics Academy's role to make it easy for architectural practices to access the materials which are going to improve the acoustics of their space. Our podcast, our social media, our storytelling is constantly advising architecture and the building sector, look, don't put this low on the agenda, bring it up. Because if a building, you know, one of the guests on our podcast again was a company called Soundtrack City. Okay, they're a Dutch company. We're back in Amsterdam, all right? And they were talking about a square. It's not just internal spaces, it's external spaces. So Soundtrack City, they were looking at a square in Amsterdam. I'm going to pronounce it terribly, but it's called Major Vigerplein Square. Okay, maybe that's not such a bad pronunciation. Anyway, Major Vigerplein had this square, and it was renovated for use by the public. People were going to sit there, they could have a drink, they could meet friends after work, you know, and they could enjoy this square. But guess what? No one was using it. Why? Because the surfaces of this square were reflecting sound so bad, you couldn't hear your friend when you were having a drink. One of the things they looked at was that the plant pots in the square were 2 meters by 2 meters. Here's the magic word, square. If they'd used circular plant pots, the sound wouldn't have reflected off the surfaces. And that's one thing visually that could have been changed to make it improved acoustically. It's funny, if you say to someone, if they go to an amazing building, you say, how was the building? And they go, oh, it was amazing. It had beautiful stained glass windows, spires. They can describe the visuals for ages, like the red nail varnish can be described for ages. But when you say to them, how did the building sound? They're like, you know, I don't know. But if you say to them, how did the building make you feel? They go, oh, it felt great. I walked through the door. You know, one of the buildings which is well certified in New York is the Hearst building, which is where Good Housekeeping Institute is located. It's got the roof of the building doesn't have a hole in it, but it captures water. That water runs through the building, down the banisters of the escalators, so that people coming off the busy streets of New York that we spoke about earlier, when they walk into the Hearst building, they hear water coming down the banisters. And the feeling is this: I've just left, New York cabs and pneumatic drills. I've walked into this space and I suddenly feel amazing. I feel ready to work. Feel ready to be my best self and do my best day's productive work because I've gone to a space which sounds great. And like I say, we talked about Greta Thunberg educating, and then we change our habits. And I hope that the Acoustics Academy is, along with our guests on the podcast, is one of the things that helps the whole building sector industry go, you know what? And actually, COVID has, and lockdown, terrible as it is, has accelerated the message and risen the appreciation that if a building, it's all very well a building look right, but if it doesn't sound right, people won't go there, just like Major Fisher-Plyne Square.
I mean, I think the work you guys doing is amazing, because I always push for education. That's the way we're going to get the change. And now you're educating the leaders and the architecture that are designing it.